Yep.
In the summer, it was 90 degrees.
Just had to adjust myself. Excuse me.
Yeah, in the summer, it's 90 degrees. The way you did time in my 7 months,
Totally
we were
different.
in the Helmsley Palace.
Yeah.
He did
Exactly.
time like a dog. So that particular day, this Johnson fella is in the yard. And all of a sudden, his escort is gone. Again, this is the story I'm getting.
Mm.
I'm only repeating what the government told me, meaning COs on the down low that would
Hmm.
communicate with me. So Walter Johnson takes a shot at him. And the media, of course, plays it up. Gotti assaulted in jail. The hacks come in, the correction officers come in, they take Johnson out. He was only there one day. Why was he in the yard? You don't get clearance to go in the yard in one day. It takes 3 weeks for your paperwork to follow you. You have no paperwork. And you know this. Your
Yep.
counselor doesn't have your paperwork sometimes for 2 weeks.
That's right.
Am I right, Joe?
100%.
I mean, you
Yes.
did a lot more time than me. I did, as John would say, I did sissy time in a camp for 7 months.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that wasn't time. That was, you were on vacation.
Yeah.
You did time. John
Yes.
did time. You didn't know from
He
day to
did.
day
He
what
did
was
even.
going on.
Yeah, and he did even worse time than I did.
Oh,
So
he did worse, of course.
yeah.
But we know that, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a man to say that. So they take him out, Johnson. Now, because of the assault, now follow me, because of the assault, Joe, they can't ship him out to a penitentiary.
Ah,
See, that's what they wanted.
that's right.
Because now it was a 3-step program. You listen to this, you comment people. It was an angel doesn't know about this, so don't ask her because she's too stupid to know about this.
Hmm.
So they do all this. Now they can't ship him out. We were so happy he was going to go to a penitentiary. Could you imagine? We're happy he's going to a penitentiary because
That's a big step down from where he was,
if
or a
he
big
was,
step up.
that would have been a hotel for him.
Yeah. Forget it.
And the government knew that. They couldn't let him get in a penitentiary.
No.
Because you and I both know he'd be running the penitentiary.
He certainly would.
You know
Exactly.
John. You know how John operates and how John moves. He would have been there one day. He would have been running the whole place.
Yep.
God
Yep.
bless him. That's his way. That's who John
That,
Gotti is and was.
that's who he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, fast forward, he's getting sicker and sicker. But that's
Yeah.
that story with the assault. So everybody knows now with the
I'm glad
assault,
you cleared that up.
it was a premeditated assault orchestrated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Under the direction at that time, the director was a lady. She said she was a lady by the name of Kathleen Hawk Sawyer. That's who was the director of the BOP.
Wow.
Director Kathleen Hawk Sawyer.
Another
And
nice girl.
a wonderful lady. She was so devoted to killing John. That was her job.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Bill Hedrick. So fast forward, now they got to ship John out. Forget about the level 3. That's gone. There's no penitentiary. Now he's in Springfield. And he's sick. He's got the cancer and he's sick. And, as I said so many times, they burnt his face, they cut out his tongue. So fast forward, young Peter, his son, moves out to Springfield, stays there for about 8 months, goes to see him. They wouldn't even give him daily visits. They were giving him visits every 3 days that I had to fight for. At that time, Senator Clinton, she was a senator. She fought for us. Charlie Rangel, a black congressman out of New York, he fought. They wrote letters. Let Louis Kasman visit him. There's no reason why. He's not a threat. Everybody you could think of was writing letters. They didn't care. And I was faxing them straight in.
Wow.
Clinton, they disregarded her letter. Charlie Rangel, they disregarded his letter. Chairman of the Judiciary Committee at that time, they disregarded his letter. Every person that had a say in the BOP, former directors, the guy by the name of Joel Sickler, former counselor at the BOP, everybody. There's no reason. This is retaliation. This
Of
is
course.
madness not to let. See, they knew that John and I had a great rapport and that I gave him strength and that he wanted to see me. So anything that he wanted, the government saw to it that he wouldn't get. But yet, like I went to Marion,
Mm.
I used to go to Springfield. And he just that he knew I was there. Is that crazy?
No, it's not because that's the rapport you had, and it made him feel
That's the
good.
relationship I had with
Yeah,
that man.
exactly.
You
But
know.
didn't you get him to a real hospital the last you told me last time it was like 7 days or something he had
Yeah,
last?
I'll tell you that. So
Yeah.
he's in Springfield and he's getting what they call care. If I had a pet or a dog and I brought that dog to a veterinarian clinic, the care would have been better. Not
Wow.
only for John, but for other inmates that are
Mhm.
supposedly getting care. Care. So they burn his face, they cut out half his tongue. He's getting sicker and sicker. But he's tough. He's fighting it.
Mm.
He's doing the best he can. And of course, they're giving him Tylenol. Oh, I got them to give him extended release Tylenol. Yeah,
If it wasn't serious, it'd be funny.
right. Now,
Yeah.
Vicky was going. Vicky was on top of this Hedrick. You know, everybody. You know, she was relentless, and she didn't take no prisoners. Vicky.
Good for
When I
her.
say Vicky, I'm talking about the daughter.
Yeah.
She took no prisoners. You didn't mess with her when it came. She loved her father, and
Good for her. Good for her.
and Angel loved her father, but Angel just has no brains. You know, she's just a good person, but you know, nothing going on upstairs. And so he's getting worse and worse. I say to Peter one day, I says, I got to find out, Peter, his son, who the big lawyer is in Springfield. And I find out a guy by the name of D. Wampler, Wampler. He's now deceased. So back then, you didn't have Waze and you didn't have where you put in your phone how to get somewheres.
Yeah.
So we find out his address. And Peter looks at me. He says, we had a car there, of course. Peter said, how do we get there? I said, Peter, I don't know. So I get the guy in the hotel. I said, you got to do me a favor. You got to take off. You got to get us to this address. So we give him a couple of bucks. He drives us to this guy's office. Peter and I, we would still be driving.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't know. Peter and I knew how to get from the hotel to the prison to the mall. That's all we knew. And this good Italian restaurant that was right across the street, really good, right across the street from the hotel. So we go and meet with D. Wampler. And I give D. Wampler $15,000. Wrote him a check, $15,000. That was his fee. I says, I want you to draw up a writ. I said, it'll probably be denied, but I want to do it. And Peter agreed with me. Peter says, let's do it. He says, you know, my father's going to be mad at us. I said, let him be mad at us. So he draws up the writ. He says, by the way, he says, there's no federal judge in Springfield.
Really?
Yeah. There's a magistrate, a federal magistrate, who's a federal judge, but not on that level of a sitting federal judge. I said, oh, so fine. Can you present it to me? He says, yeah, not only can I present it to him, but we were roommates in college. I says, D, listen to me. I don't want a favor. I don't need a favor. I just want this guy to be fair and impartial. I'm glad he was your roommate. I says, but you're going to wind up going to jail. And Peter and I are going to wind up in a jackpot. I didn't come to you for that. And I never knew that until you're just disclosing it now. So maybe you should go to another court of jurisdiction. He says, no, I'm going to disclose it. I said, okay, I'm disclosing it to you. And obviously he'll know as soon as I walk in. We have multiple. I says, do you have other cases before this magistrate? He says, yes. I says, okay, then that's fine.
Mm.
So we wait 2 days. I says, you know what? I says to Peter, nah, I didn't have a good feeling. That night, I get a call from D. Wampler. He says, go to the fax machine. My writ was granted.
Wow.
Forthwith. The next morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, forthwith. Not an order, a forthwith order. That means now, at once. That next morning, They take John out, in a convoy because he was going to escape. This man,
Yeah.
this man with head, neck, and throat cancer, or maybe they thought Peter and I were going to break him out of jail. So, with a 6-car convoy, helicopter overhead, they take him to this hospital. One thing in Springfield, if you're in a private facility hospital, the medical care out there is good because it's a hospital town, as they would call it. And it's a college town. So they take him there, and they're starting to give him care.
Real care.
Real care. Clean him up. When you said, I don't think they cleaned him up once.
Wow.
Cleaning him up, giving him the right chemotherapy. Vicky was there with the heart doctor. I have to say Vicky was great. Vicky was there with the heart doctor getting that done. And we couldn't save his life, but all we gave him was some dignity and some humane treatment.
What he deserved.
What he deserved and what any inmate
That's right.
deserves when you're that sick and in custody.